What is up, Kryptonians? Welcome to an amazing weekend of cinema. It feels like there's so many great movies to watch in theaters right now. Well, except for Until Dawn. That movie also came out this weekend. I'm gonna review it, and that's probably the one movie you can afford to skip. But today we're talking about The Accountant 2. The Accountant 2 is an action thriller, a sequel to The Accountant, which came out back in 2016, I believe. So this sequel comes out 9 years after the original. It is once again directed by Gavin O'Connor, who has directed a plethora of really good movies over the years. This film stars Ben Affleck as Christian Wolf. It brings back Jon Bernthal as his brother Braxton. Cynthia Addai Robinson in a much more expanded role this time. She returns as Mary Beth Medina. Forensic accountant Christian Wolf, played by Ben Affleck, has to team up with his estranged but lethal brother, played by Jon Bernthal. In this movie, where they have to hunt down a bunch of assassins and get to the bottom of a conspiracy and a mystery that unfortunately killed a former associate of Christian Wolf. If I do recall, I did have a video this year talking about my most anticipated movies, and I'm pretty sure that this movie was somewhere on that list. Having said that, I walked into this movie not really knowing what to expect. It's a sequel, but it's also a sequel that takes place 9 years after the original. You kind of wonder what the story is going to be like here, like what kind of things are they going to be able to expand on or deliver on? Like, is it going to feel like the first Accountant movie, and is that going to be a good thing? Like, there's a lot of questions going into a movie like this. And it is a sequel, and it does take some elements from the first movie, but that's more so in like a character progression way. Like, I liked seeing the way that the characters from the first movie progressed and advanced in their own personal arcs in this movie. Best thing I can say about this sequel is that it is a sequel that does not feel like it's trying to one-up the first one. In fact, it's a sequel that feels very different from the first one, but different in some pretty awesome ways. This is a sequel that definitely leans more into the comedy parts of its story, and it feels much more buddy comedy than the first one ever felt. I think that really works because you have Jon Bernthal and you have Ben Affleck in this movie. It's the chemistry between the two of them as brothers. Like, they just feel like natural fits as brothers. You kind of forget that they're not brothers in real life, the way that they talk to each other in this movie. Their interplay, their banter, their back and forth, their frustrations with each other, it's typical brother shit, and it's a great brother road comedy type of movie if you want to take it that way. That's not me saying that the movie feels too much like a comedy. That's just me saying that this script is funny, and it takes advantage of how funny Ben Affleck and Jon Bernthal's chemistry is. There's also a pretty cool dynamic for parts of the movie where you get Mary Beth Medina, who was in the first movie and, like I said, has a bigger role this time around. Her being like the linchpin of sense and reason and sanity in between Christian Wolf and between Braxton. I thought that was also pretty entertaining. Also, shout out to Gavin O'Connor. This is incredibly well directed, just like the first one was. Visually, it's a very good looking movie. Gavin O'Connor focuses on a blend of methodical, deliberate camera work with a little bit of gritty, handheld, shaky cam stuff that really accentuates and adds to the tension of the moment. And that especially goes for the action sequences. Most of the action sequences are in camera. There's wide takes. You can see everything that's going on. The action sequences in this movie are spectacular. They're incredibly well staged, well filmed, well executed overall. Probably my favorite third act of the entire year, if we're specifically just talking about action scenes. It's a movie that is much more interested in the dynamics between the characters. That is the thing that is going to keep you entertained. That is the thing that is going to keep you on the edge of your seat throughout. I will say the story for this movie is a tad bit convoluted. Not convoluted in the sense that it's too confusing. It's more convoluted in the sense that there's a lot of different details that are flying in and out of this story. Some that feel important, some that don't feel important. It's easy to get your brain a little scrambled egg here when it comes to focusing on the plot and the story. It's not really that great of a story, to be honest. I feel like the first story worked a little bit better because they incorporated different parts of Christian Wolf's origin into the details of the plot. Here, there's a story and you understand it and you get it, and there's a lot of different stuff to remember, and there's a lot of things flying around. It feels like there's a lot of irons in the fire, so to speak. I also have a couple of like unanswered questions with the plot of this movie. There are some things that I feel like the movie doesn't really answer. You get to the end of the movie, you're kind of expecting these arcs to all close and the threads to like tie themselves together in a satisfying way, and I was unsatisfied because I was like, wait, are you just not going to, like, what about this? Like, what about this other thing you set up? You're just not going to answer it? Oh, okay, It's kind of weird to me. There's also not a lot of actual accounting shit going on in a movie that's called The Accountant 2, or the way they put it on the poster, The Accountant Squared. Hey man, if you want to watch a lot of scenes of characters like doing numbers and figuring mathematics and arithmetic and finances and shit, the first one is probably gonna do you better because it's a story that's more tied to forensic accounting. This one is just kind of Christian Wolf and his brother get caught up in something. Like, that's the story. So that might disappoint you. It's not really that big a deal, but you know, it's just a thing I thought I'd mention. I would definitely recommend this as one of the movies you should check out this weekend. The Accountant 2 was fun. It was entertaining as hell. I'm gonna leave this one in the Silver Age for Man of Steel. What did you think about it? Which one do you prefer, the first Accountant movie or The Accountant Squared? Put that in the comment section down below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show. And if you like what you see, tell me how you feel and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.